A sequel that's not only equal to the predecessor, but the movie that ended the golden run of the Pixar movies. We're talking Cars 2, the first of the bad Pixar movies, and a portend of things to come for that company. All this and more on today's show, but first, roll the song.
We all love the first one, but the second movie sucked. Trying to catch lightning in a bottle, 2 times takes a lot of luck. Brian, Tim, and Dave are watching movies that are lame. These are the sequels that aren't equal.
Hello and welcome to Sequels That Aren't Equal, the show where we talk about beloved major motion pictures that have follow-up movies that fall well short of the originals. I am your co-host, Brian.
I'm Dave.
And I'm Tim.
And welcome to today's show where we are talking Pixar's Cars 2, which came out in 2011. But before we get into Cars 2, let's talk about the beloved original. Maybe not one of the best in the early Pixar run, but certainly a well-regarded movie. Cars 1, 2006. Dave, table setting.
Let's see. Do you want to just hit the stats of Cars 1 and then time travel back to the 80s for the table setting?
Oh, please, let's do that.
Let's set up Cars 1 and then put it in context of the general movie,
real brief. Cars 1 came out 2006, directed and written by John Lasseter. Principal cast got, Owen Wilson, Larry the Cable Guy, Paul Newman. One of his last roles. He passed before Cars 2, which is why that character's absent. Bonnie Hunt as the love interest. Budget of $120 million. Box office worldwide $460 million.
Wow.
So
big hit.
Yeah. As Owen Wilson would say, wow. It gets a Wilson wow. So this was definitely during that heyday of, Pixar just hitting home runs, getting awards.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, the Pixar model of making movies, definitely in the beginning, the pre-Disney days, was they would let these movies percolate for years. Like sometimes they would be 2-3 years just in the story and screenwriting and like storyboarding process before they even started animating, because they really wanted to take time to flesh out these stories. Story was king at Pixar, which is why the early Pixar movies are all bangers. They are literally classic movies that I think will be watched by kids for like the next 100 years. I'm not even saying that as hyperbole. These are very big classic movies. And then of course, Cars 2, which we're going to talk about in a minute, is the beginning of the end of this real classic run. But let's talk table setting for the Pixar company.
Oh, yeah. So I actually want to begin. We're going to do some table set. I need dinner plates. I need a salad plate. I need the little gravy boat, bro. Like, we're starting with the 1981 Disney, not real classic. It did okay. Fox and the Hound, right? It's okay film. Behind the scenes, though, the things that were going on have now had major impacts on cinema, not just animated, but live action, pop culture. A lot of things happened because of what was going on with Fox and the Hound. So,
most notably, Corey Feldman's first role.
Oh, yeah.
What part did he play in it? Because I love Fox and Hound. I remember that movie vividly from my childhood.
So we're now going to go behind the curtain of it. Yeah. So one of the first big things that happened with this movie, it did get delayed. It was supposed to come out in 80, came out in 81. And one of the reasons why was because of one of the head big hotshot animators, Don Bluth, got up and left. And what I can imagine was a Jerry Maguire scenario where he's like, I'm done, I'm out of here, who's coming with me? And actually several young animators got up and left with him. Right?
Yeah, it had to be dope. I would have loved to see that.
So they left, and I'm sure, look, especially at this time, Disney was it for animation.
Oh, it literally was the only game in town.
If you had any desire in animation, it was Disney. I mean, that was it. And so I'm sure Disney was like, whatever, dude. Yeah, fine. Yep, there's the door. Don't let it hit you on the way out. All right.
Did they do that? Did they do the Hobbit movie that was on HBO back in the day, the cartoon?
No, that's Rankin Bass, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it's Rankin Bass for real.
I think it was.
Yeah, that like 70s animation. Yeah, that's them. We're going to put a pin on Don Bluth. We'll be coming back to him.
Can't wait.
So there was another young animator, very imaginative, very creative, loved animation, but he wasn't really in the box of Disney, right? He was a little outside that box. He was actually in charge of drawing Vixie, the sexy fox. That animator was Tim Burton.
Ooh, wow.
That's right. He was on this.
Yeah, because he was, loved animation and just, I think his ideas just didn't really fit the mold of Disney. And shortly after he kind of then went off, maybe I'll try live action. And we know what became.
Also masterpieces. Yeah, that's insane. I had no idea Tim Burton worked on Fox and the Hound. That's just
Other notables, Brad Bird.
Brad Bird was also on the team.
He went on to be very instrumental in the early days of The Simpsons. He was there during, I think, seasons like at least 3, 4, 5, and that which is the best of The Simpsons. When you got Conan O'Brien there, I mean, we're talking peak Simpsons.
Peak Simpsons. Now, who did he do the Iron Giant for?
I think that was Fox. Wasn't it Fox?
Oh, yeah, that's a good show. Right? He had the connection through The Simpsons. Yeah.
So yeah, I want to say in the comment section, come at us. I think it was Fox. So he did Iron Giant. He later did then work with Disney again because he did
Ratatouille.
The Incredibles and live action Mission Impossible 4.
Oh, and that really terrible Tomorrowland.
Oh yeah, Disney live action flop.
Disney live action flop. Did you ever see Tomorrowland?
no, never seen Tomorrowland. What's it about?
Tomorrowland.
Oh, okay. The actual ride Tomorrowland?
The concept.
Who starred in that?
George Clooney.
George Clooney. Okay, nah. I mean, maybe I've seen it. It's just so horrible.
It's very boring.
What era George Clooney are we talking about here? Mid 2000s?
12-ish, right?
Before Michael Clayton or after Michael Clayton?
Oh, way after. That's like 07. Yeah, this is past peak Clooney.
All right. Yeah.
So then there was
And John Lasseter was also on the animation team.
Yeah, so I was just about to say there was this was John Lasseter's first film with Disney, and he didn't actually last too much longer, was fired shortly after this one, after Fox and the Hound. So Lasseter, who we know plays a massive part of Pixar, and really like the Kevin Feige of Pixar, and also then later
Disney
Animation
Studios,
itself. He ends up Feiging both.
Yeah.
So he worked on Fox and the Hound, and he was big on computer animation. This is 81 at the time. Tron would have just
come out,
right? It's about to come out.
Yeah.
So he was like, hey guys, computer animation, this is it. This is the future. And I'm sure they were like, whatever, kid, get back to drawing the grass, or whatever. You're on Grass Studio.
Those
right?
faces aren't going to drop the shelves.
You're on the log in the background, I'm sure whatever. He was pushing heavy for, computer animation, and to the fact that he then on his own company, on company time and company resources, he actually made a mock-up for Where the Wild Things Are. And went above his supervisor's head to the next level or whatever. Like, guys, look what computer animation do. This is it. This is the future. And his supervisors, I guess, did not take kindly to that. Yeah, I imagine it was something kind of like in RoboCop when was it Miguel oversteps Dick Jones to show when Ed 209 fails by blasting that dude away. Was like, well, I got this RoboCop, And the old man's like, yeah, let's go with that. Dick Jones very upset and, killed him with a grenade. This, I imagine, was a little less dramatic and they just fired him. But
Yeah, they did not shoot out his knees and then grenade him.
while doing coke and all that. But anyways, maybe there was coke involved. Who knows? You heard it here first. So Lasseter gets fired, and then he joins up with some computer graphic enthusiasts over at Lucasfilm in the cleverly titled graphics group at Lucasfilm.
Okay. Yeah, because at that time, computer animation really was very, very new, and they all did correctly assume that it was the future, and it certainly was, but it was also just the Wild West. It was the early days of the art. So the Lucasfilm guys, their big, foray into it was the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles.
Oh, yeah.
There's a very famous scene where there's a stained glass window, and the knight from the stained glass window jumps down.
I remember that. Yeah, that was dope.
So anyway, that was that group. Yeah, the computer and
wasn't that River Phoenix?
The Genesis scene or whatever the effects from Star Trek 2. That was them.
Right. So, I mean, these are people who, can see the future, but the big boys aren't really ready to put money behind it. So they go to a little known computer guy by the name of Steve Jobs.
Oh, yeah, small time. Right?
Yeah. And, pitch him because he has a little bit of interest in computers, being the founder of Apple Computers. And he becomes like the money guy to like this. And that's how they coalesce into Pixar.
Yeah, so so Jobs buys from George Lucas this group. Yeah, now they're their own independent company, Pixar. And this was 1986.
Yeah.
And then they don't get into the full-length feature business till 95's Toy Story.
Yeah, which is the first feature-length computer animated film.
Oh, okay. That's good to know.
Toy Story in 95. But of course, their very, very first short was Luxo Jr., the little lamp that is still the icon of Pixar to this day, directed by John Lasseter. Like, if you look at his IMDb, all of those early, because Pixar for years was making these short films to hone their craft, to improve their technology, to prove to the industry that this is all viable. So they came out with a ton of little shorts for those first, 9 years or whatever, between 86 and 95. And if you look at him, Lasseter directed almost all of them. I mean, he really was the heart of Pixar, the creative brains of the storytelling of Pixar, and then let the geeks figure out the math of the zeros and ones behind the scenes.
Nice. Now, I'd like to go back to the pin of the Don Bluth. So early 80, right? So he left in 81. They formed the Don Bluth Company. Now, this is pretty wild. So the 80s, we look at the 80s. All right. So Disney, like I said, dominates animation, and they had their heyday of all the, going back to the 40s, right? When Snow White, 47?
Steamboat Willie.
No.
Yeah.
No, wasn't it 37?
Yeah,
it's Bambi was 41.
Yeah. So it's 30. Yeah. So I mean, we're talking
37, 38.
for literally decades.
World War II's going on at the time.
Literally
Yeah,
decades.
for like 50 years,
Dominate.
they are the only feature length. Because like you mentioned Rankin Bass and there was Hanna-Barbera. There were definitely other outfits, but they were all television only, really. For feature length animation, Disney was the only.
I feel like that Hobbit came out in theaters, though.
I don't know. Maybe it did. Maybe.
Because I know it was big on HBO when I was a kid, I mean, it was on every Saturday, I felt like. It was on HBO all the time.
Yeah.
Right. So so like I said, early 80s, I'm sure Disney was like, yeah, whatever, Don Bluth. Yeah, we're Disney, we're fine. You go do your thing and whatever. So Don Bluth Company, they come out with their first one, Secret of Nim.
Oh yeah. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah, I remember Secret. And it had I think it had won an Oscar for best song. It had, Robbie Neville, like, gosh, like this. Isn't that the right guy? Is that the same guy? Robert Neville?
Yeah, that's Robert Neville.
I'll think it more like an Oscar.
I
or
don't
like,
remember the Secret of Nim song.
it might be America's Tale, because they're both about mouse.
out there.
Yeah, so somewhere out there. That's it. That guy.
Okay, that's not Secret of
Okay, I'm sorry, but they're both about mouse, though, or mice. I'm sorry.
About mice.
All right, gotcha. Okay, it's confusing.
Yeah. So that's actually the next of the Bluth, American Tale.
Oh, okay,
Which
okay. That's a
massive hit. Yeah, somewhere out there, amazing song. Try to listen to it without crying. I'll wait.
Yeah.
Wait. What year was American Tail? Like 85. Right?
Yeah, it would have been right around there.
Okay, so between Secret of Nim and 85.
I feel like it's late 80s, early 90s.
Oh, no.
American Tale's 85?
Absolutely. I remember. I was a little kid when I saw it. Okay, so between Nim and American Tail, of course, Don Bluth Company comes out with two seminal video games that if you were around any arcade in the 1980s, you saw.
I know what you're going to say.
No, you tell me. What are the two?
Dragon's Lair, right?
Dragon's Lair and Space Ace.
Oh, okay. Dang. Because those are some, those games ate a lot of quarters. Then you realize, this is a laser disc. It's the same thing every time.
Well, okay, so that's just it. Those games were actually the first video games, or at least the first popular ones, if not the first ones, to use Laserdisc, which is basically DVDs or Blu-rays for those of you at home who aren't familiar with.
Size like records, though.
They are the
LPs.
size of like an
they're
LP
awesome.
record.
Collect old Laserdiscs. That's what people should collect.
All right,
These
all
old
right.
Laserdiscs are so cool.
But they are standard definition, and you have to flip them every 45 minutes, so there's that.
That's also the first thing that ever featured director commentary.
Oh, absolutely.
It's awesome.
And alternate angles,
Yeah.
other tricks of the trade.
They had the best extras in early days.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, the Don Bluth they figured out, hey, these laser discs, you can actually play them like a video game if you use like timers on the chapter menus. So within 5 seconds or whatever, you have to select the right next event, or else it will trigger a different event. So basically, if you've ever played Dragon's Lair, yeah, you're watching these scenes. They're feature quality animation, very well animated. And that's what blew my mind, right? As like a 6, 7, 8-year-old playing these in the arcade is, oh my God, I'm playing a cartoon.
Then you realize it was only kids playing, because you really didn't playing that game is an understatement, because you basically just made a choice and watched the game, or you watched the, the result of what you picked. So you really wasn't controlling the night. It's not like a traditional side scroller or the POV games like Duke Nukem. You just made a choice, and then the laser disc would take
go
that
to the
path.
right chapter, right?
It was kind of cool and novelty at first, but then you realize like, oh, that game's just for kids.
Well, but like you said, it ate up a lot of quarters. It was a huge success.
It was big. I remember there was lines for that game.
And Space Ace. Always lines for those two games. Always. So those were both Don Bluth. I want to say they both came out in 83, or one was 83, one was 84. So they were right between Nim and American Tail. So not only did he have those two major motion pictures, but they were, bookends to two very successful video games. So I definitely wanted to shout those two.
Oh yeah, definitely. So then after American Tail comes another massive movie that spawned well over 10 sequels. I'm not even sure how many. The Land Before Time.
Oh yeah, that was huge. Yeah, remember that being big.
Yeah, it was huge. And then they finish out the 80s. It was 88 with All Dogs Go to Heaven. Another great, good movie.
Well, Land Before Time kind of, along with Jurassic Park, just made like dinosaurs like the coolest things of all time. It's like Land Before Time, Jurassic Park. I mean, it was a good decade for dinosaurs. Kind of like their renaissance.
It was good for dinosaurs.
Yeah,
dinosaur. They even had their own sitcom, Dinosaur.
Oh, I remember that. I was like, I'm the baby. I love that. Yeah, I love that show. And it had the saddest ending. You remember the ending to the show?
It's the comets coming.
Yeah.
The comets coming, and they're like,
Oh man, it was sad.
together. Oh my God. Yeah, it's dark.
It didn't end on a good note, but it's fabulous. That's how it should have ended. And it was awesome. Yeah, it was
The
crazy.
darkest moment in sitcom history since Dudley and Arnold went to the bike
Oh,
shop.
even worse. The comet hitting these dinosaurs that you fell in love with, even the baby dinosaur, you see him quivering, It's just, yeah. Go back. Anybody who watched, what was the show? It's
called Dinosaurs.
Open, yeah. I love that show. Yeah.
Wow, I had no idea.
Oh, it ended dark.
That is some darkness. So what's crazy though is Disney, lets Don Bluth go, or doesn't really have a choice. He goes off and starts this company. And while he's creating these major hits, that's the exact same time that Disney Animation is in the toilet.
Oh, yeah.
Well, starting with the Black Cauldron.
Yeah. So hot take to Gen Xers, it's not good.
What, Black Cauldron?
Go watch it again.
Terrible.
Watch it again. Okay. Yeah. Oldest brother. If you were to ask favorite Disney movie, it's gonna be the Black Cauldron. And I know
that's just contrary.
I know the Gen Xers love them some Black Cauldron. Yeah. Right. No, I know.
But there were some Disney bangers.
It's weird. Yeah, it's been
I
watched it.
When is Return to Oz? I love Return to Oz.
No, we're talking animation.
Animation. Okay.
Yes, I watched it maybe a year ago because I was like, yeah, that was cool, right? And then I watched it, I'm like, oh, this is bad.
It's bad.
It
has some cool art, but
I've never seen it, believe it or not. Most of the
Imagine Black Cauldron if like Tim Burton was still there. Like I could think cool.
Could have been. So Fox and the Hound was kind of like the animation version of Dazed and Confused actor style. There's like, how Dazed and Confused had all these big actors that go on to be huge in the 90s and 2000s. That's kind of what Fox and the Hound was for animators.
it was the farm team.
Gotcha.
They then went out and
By the way you're talking, it produced a lot of good stuff,
well, but because at that time it was the only game in town, so all these very talented dudes, that's where you had to go.
But Disney kind of messed up, and they had all this great talent, but they didn't know how to harness it. Correct. And they were probably dead set in their ways. Because really, Disney used to be like super conservative. I don't think the Disneys of the 80s would even recognize Disney now. So I mean, it was kind of an odd time for Disney.
Oh, most definitely. No, they had all that deep talent in their, on the bench, but they absolutely did not let them flourish until they went out in the world, made names for themselves, and became so big that they had to then push them back
And with bigger bucks.
with much bigger bucks.
All of those guys came back.
Well, except for Bluth.
Yeah, well,
He stood strong, huh?
but
he stood strong.
Burton, collaborated with Disney later.
Brad
What-
Bird and
Brad
of course
Bird.
Lasseter, we'll get to in a minute, but certainly.
So, Nightmare Before Christmas was Disney.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. That's a good movie.
Which I'm pretty sure he did pitch that in the early 80s.
He did.
Like, hey guys, and I'm sure they're like, wow, that's weird.
That's odd though, because Disney's like live action slate was, Black Hole, Return to Oz, Witches. They had some really dark, crazy stuff during that late 70s, early 80s time. So that's odd that they didn't pick up on that Tim Burton animation, There had to be two separate divisions, right?
No, that's exactly what I was going to say. They were completely separate divisions under the same umbrella, but just completely separate.
That's a shame though.
Yeah. So do the 80s. Yeah. So you have Black Cauldron, The Great Mouse Detective. It's okay.
Okay.
Brave Little Toaster. Okay. All
Is
the
that a Disney major
A
motion?
lot of old millennials love Brave Toaster. It's kind of dark itself.
It's sad. I never thought I would cry over a vacuum, but there I was. Oliver and Company.
is terrible.
Yeah. So the 80s rough, and even the 70s weren't really any big bangers for Disney. So they were definitely slumping. All of that changed 1989 with The Little Mermaid.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the start of the Disney Renaissance.
And that golden era where they then go on a massive hit streak, right? And you got that. You've got Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King. So all just bangers, home runs. Like they're now on top.
Did they get Phil Jackson and the Bulls during that time? I mean,
They were
they were winning everything.
yeah.
Wow.
And then Bluth on that. Let's see, there was the Elvis Chicken movie, Rock
91. So basically, these two companies just changed places.
Disney, the 80s, Bluth, and then now they're. So you've got, they did that. Yeah, it was like Rock-a-Doodle-Doo, the Thumbelina failed. Their only real hit was Anastasia.
Who did Rango, that lizard movie?
Maybe DreamWorks.
I think Robert, who's that great cinematographer? For some reason, I can't believe I forget his name. I apologize to everybody out there. But, didn't he do like a Mad Max, Blade Runner 2049?
Roger Deakins.
Roger Deakins. Didn't he do Ringo? I feel like he did. Somebody correct me in the comments, but I feel like he helped out with that movie somehow. We're going to have to look that up.
But that is CG. That's not traditional animation.
Oh, it's
because
not?
remember, CG animation doesn't come on the scene until Toy Story 95. Not for feature length.
Ringo is before that, though, right?
No, Ringo. So well after. Early 2000s. Yeah.
Oh, okay. This all runs together. I thought it was. So, what do you call that? You just call it computer animation and not animation? That's what it's officially called. So, when I talk about Cars, Incredibles, all this stuff, I say computer
You
animation.
could either say computer animation or 3D animation.
3D animation. I like 3D animation.
And then the other style is 2D animation, hand-drawn animation, or cell animation.
Okay. So, cell animation is like a drawing. Gotcha.
Each
Okay.
cell of the movie, photograph it next cell, which is how they used to make movies.
Yeah. All right. So Lion King, 1994, massive. 95, I want to say Pocahontas still,
Still in the golden era, certainly.
So this is now when Toy Story comes out.
correct.
And I don't know why, but I always think Toy Story coming out late 90s, but it was mid 90s. It was, and I forget,
Solidly midnight.
I want to say that was when I was getting too cool for Disney.
Oh, I was a senior in high school. I was definitely
Yeah,
cool for
so
Disney.
because I definitely, I mean, dude, the Little Mermaid, yeah, that was all those. That was my childhood. That whole run, my childhood. Yeah, so by the time it gets to like Toy Story and all that, I'm too cool. I'm I think a freshman or 8th grade when Toy Story come out, maybe 8th grade or something. So I'm starting to get too cool for Disney. I mean, I love it now, but yeah, it was too cool then. So honestly, I feel like Disney was now so just rocking that when Pixar's like, hey, we got this full length, pure animated, Disney's like, yeah, we'll distribute, we'll slap our name on it. You make money, we make money, fine. I don't think they felt threatened by
absolutely
Pixar.
not.
I think they're like, okay, whatever. And then Toy Story's massive hit, right? John Lasseter. And then you go on Toy Story. Yeah, so then after Toy Story, you've got Bugs Life, also Lasseter, big hit. and then we get to Toy Story 2. So, like I said, Pixar independent company, 1986, and then through 1999. And so those last couple years, those for Toy Story, Bugs Life, they just have a very collaboration with Disney, but it's more just like Disney's distribution.
Just distribution and marketing.
Right. They just at that point not even real market, just distributing.
Right.
And then in 99, now it becomes more of this head-butting relationship. Starting to get more into that like Marvel, the MCU, Sony battles we now know of today. Yeah, right. So that's kind of what was happening in Disney. They're like, yeah, let's do a picture deal. We'll take on distribution, we'll take on marketing, a little more control. We want sequels. We want the rights to the sequels.
Well, this was the era of the really bad direct-to-TV or direct-to-video Disney sequels. Like, basically, they were farming all of their IP that was big back in the day and putting out straight to VHS, straight to DVD, really bad, very low-budget sequels. So Cinderella had 2 sequels. Aladdin had 2 sequels.
Okay, Aladdin 2, does it have Robin Williams in it?
It does not.
Okay, that's crack.
It had the voice of Homer Simpson.
Oh, wow. You replaced Robin Williams? I mean, no disrespect to the voice of Homer Simpson, but, that's a...
Well, they couldn't afford them because it was all about make it cheap, slap the name on it. Oh, it's someone on the box we know and love. Great, I'll put it on, shut the kids up for 2 hours. That was very much their, modus operandi for all that. So basically, all of the Disney classics were getting sequels straight to video in this late 90s.
Kind of like what they do with Disney Plus now.
Very much like
Obi-Wan Kenobi. Oh, God, I'm sorry. Got a dry throat. Got a tickle there.
So I can see why Disney was pushing for those sequel rights, because they're sitting there going, great, we could be pumping out Toy Story 2 and Bugs Life 2 and what have you on our straight-to-home video out of the Disney vault, like they like to say.
Yeah. I mean, they understood there's money in sequels, right? And you don't need to spend as much money. They're like, you don't need Robin Williams to you don't need Elton John music. Right. They don't need all that to go to the video. Like you said, parents are going to buy it. The kids are going to enjoy it. The kids don't know any better.
Kids don't know.
They don't know any better. So
I want to know the first 7-year-old say, where's my Elton John soundtrack? You know what I'm saying? God, I'm pissed off. Yeah.
Lives in Tarzan's show. What's up?
Yeah. So, they realize, so yes, we can't have a show called Sequels That Aren't Equal and not talk about, Disney knowing, you don't have to go.
They don't have to be equal.
They don't have to be equal. It's lesser, right? And it makes them a lot of money, right? There's money in it. There's money in the banana stand, right? There's money.
Always money in the bananas.
And they love the clamshell VHS holders. They love
absolutely.
That was their thing.
That was them.
Porn and Disney love those clamshells. Seriously.
But God help you if you ever mixed up the 2 tapes.
You're in trouble.
So there's a video time incident or 2 where I'm sure that has happened to the rental stores. So all this is happening, right? In 99. Yeah, so they're butting heads. Yeah, Disney, they're like, yeah, we want them sequel rights, because they know, they can mine it. I'm sure there was a conversation that was like, we don't need Tim Allen, Tom Hanks. Right. We can get just, go off Craigslist, find some VO talent. And
some sound-alikes.
Yeah, because they wanted that to go straight to video, and then they have the rights. And Pixar was like, no, we want this to be a major motion picture, right? We don't want it to just go straight to video.
You know what? I see an analog of that today very much on Netflix with those DreamWorks shows where they get the Jack Black sound-alike to be Kung Fu Panda. And and they get the Antonio Banderas sound-alike to be Puss in Boots, and then they put out, these very bad shows on Netflix to mine their IP. So yeah, Disney was kind of doing the same thing. Again, they didn't have Disney Plus at the time.
Yeah,
all of these would have been shows instead of just movies. But yeah, I'm sure they're like, look, just get us the cheap equivalent and let's just crank it out with the same.
So who owns Shrek? Well, who's that?
That's all DreamWorks.
Oh, it's DreamWorks. They got you.
Yeah, and all that came on the tail of the success of the first 4 Pixar movies. Because Shrek 1, I want to say, was 2001.
Yeah, 2000
maybe. But yeah.
I remember that being a huge hit. So Puss in Boots right now, the newest one coming out that I see.
Just came out.
That's not Antonio Banderas.
Well, it is. I'm talking about they did straight to Netflix shows where they got a sound alike.
Okay, gotcha.
And then for the movies, it's still Antonio Banderas.
I mean, there's also this legion. I know I've read this on a few, letterbox and stuff like that, talking about there's a lot of people out there that want to bring back the voice actor rather than having, established movie stars do voices. And I know that's really become a big thing now that Chris Pratt is doing a Super Mario brother voice.
Well, and it's funny that you say that because this is Toy Story 1 is the movie that kicked that off, right? So you have Tom Hanks, beloved movie star in 1995, as the voice of Woody. You've got Tim Allen, who he was on Home Improvement. Yeah, so he was, a big television star. So these aren't just the voice actor types that were always in the Disney movies before that. This is, we're going to get names that you actually recognize on the marquee and put them in the movie, which is, like you said, a trend that Hollywood very much ran with after Toy Story. And people are starting to say, we don't really need Angelina Jolie to voice the lizard. You can just have a good voice actor in that role, and if the character's good, we'll watch.
Yeah, and a lot of actors see that as an easy paycheck, just going in for a couple of days, a month, and just doing some voiceovers. Yeah, and bring a pin back. Just looked it up. Roger Deakins did do Rango. He was a cinematographer at that movie, so that's probably why it looks so freaking good. Because I mean, it's live action, or what'd you say? Live action or a cartoon?
No, that is a 3D cartoon.
3D cartoon. Yeah, it looks. I mean, it's really shot well. That's I think Johnny Depp does the voice of the voice, right? I remember that's one of the last things I watched, kind of like in an animation round. That I was like really super impressed by. I was like, wow, this is like, and the Fantastic Fox. Of course, that's a whole other George Clooney, Wes Anderson. And recently on Netflix, and I know we haven't got to it yet, maybe we'll get to it later in the podcast, but maybe we should bring up Sea Beast and Bad Guys as, for some of that, I guess it's called 3D animation, right? It is 3D animation. Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't seen those.
Yeah, you guys should watch them. If you like anybody out there likes this 3D animation stuff, watch those. They're pretty good.
3D animation, this new fake 3D animation.
Yeah, I'm not trying. I'm not trying to raid on your parade on 3D animation.
Kids are really.
Is it anime, cartoon? I don't know. It's all the same to me. I'm that guy. Yeah.
Nice. So what's wild now? We get to the 2000s, and this is funny. I don't know what's going on with Disney. I don't know if they're just banking so much off Pixar that their side goes down in quality. So if we look at Pixar, right? Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, Cars, Ratatouille, all home runs.
Like I said at the top of the show, these are literally classic movies that will be watched for 100 years.
And anybody out there, this is like the USA Dream Team right here. This is Barkley, Byrne, Johnson, Jordan, bangers back to back.
All right. Then we go to the animation, and it's a head scratcher. The Completely Forgotten Dinosaur.
Never heard of it.
There's a ride based on it in Animal Kingdom. It's okay.
Now, this movie, I had to say, I actually didn't see it until about a year ago, because I was like, that looks dumb. Emperor's New Groove.
Emperor's New Groove. And it's funny that you say that, because you're a millennial. That's your movie beloved.
This is, so the younger and all millennial, this, I guess, would be our Black Cauldron. That's
that you'll ride or die.
Yeah, it's Emperor's New Groove. So if you talk poorly of that, millennials will come in.
Another movie in this era that is like that with millennials is Lilo and Stitch. Like, you better not talk trash about that one either.
Yeah, so yes, we have Emperor's New Groove, which doesnent do well, but it is actually really funny. It is good. If you haven't seen it,
really good.
It's good. Then, millennials are gonna come after me, come at me. You have Atlantis, The Lost Empire, Treasure Planet, both bad. Those are terrible. Millennials don't be, oh no, it's good. No, it is no Aladdin. All right, these are bad. Sorry, they're bad. Lilo and Stitch is really the only one from that era that gets any, there's like rides or, they're like, that's still in the.
Sell a lot of merch. I see a lot of merch that my niece loved that, so I'm
so that is really their only one, because then you have Brother Bear, Home on the Range, Chicken Little,
and Eat the Robinsons. Brother Bear or Home on the Range, one of those is actually the last 2D animated Disney film until Princess and the Frog. Like, they actually retire 2D animation and go with this newfangled 3D animation, starting with, like you said, The Terrible Chicken Little, which is really bad. Meet the Robinsons, which is really bad. Bolt, which is really bad. Those three come out, boom, boom, boom. They're all terrible. They all look terrible. Bolt looks okay, but those other two, just the quality looks terrible. And this is at the same time that Pixar is just eating their lunch with very high quality, very, very good looking movies.
So yeah, I can't help but wonder, did Disney know, look, we're gonna make a lot of money off Pixar. In 2003, you have Pirates of the Caribbean, which is a massive hit. I'm wondering, were they putting all their creative efforts into live action? Do you think that they were like, hey, let's just make money off Pixar and we're gonna do live act. Let's focus more on live action.
Oh, I definitely feel like they were kind of not minding the store in Disney animation for sure.
Yeah, because this just feels very.
It definitely
It feels probably laziness from the VHS releases. Yeah, it's
it
kept that
feels
laziness into the big. Because I've never heard of it, hardly any.
They feel very uninspired. And I mean, the proof is in the pudding. Here we are 20 years later. And like you said, you don't know these movies. Like they have no cultural footprint other than Lilo and Stitch
Yeah, I mean that's really it.
and Emperor's New Groove.
Is this under a Bob Iger? Because I know a lot of Disney people love Iger.
Oh, we're getting
Okay,
yeah.
yes, okay, I'm getting ahead.
Yeah, so yeah, we're gonna get to
This
that.
is
So
the
Eisner-
creator bankruptcy period for Disney animation.
Yeah, so Eisner is in control till 2005. So in 2005, Bob Iger. Interesting.
Got it. Now I understand.
So Bob Iger, so like I said, the collaboration, it was Disney and Pixar in 2006, and then that's when Pixar it becomes just controlled, like Disney buys Pixar in 2006.
Buy it out whole.
So Bob Iger, he enters the scene in 2005. He goes to Shanghai Disney. He's at a parade event, and he sees it's all Pixar characters. And he realizes, oh, this is what the kids like. This is what the kids want. They're all about Pixar. And I'm sure he saw that writing on the wall of like, oh, we need to get it on board. Like because they had this, a lot of headbutting, trying to make this partnership work. And I think he was like, oh, we're going to lose.
Yeah.
So how does Shanghai Disney have Pixar characters?
Because they were still like
They're still under the light. Gotcha. Okay. So why did it take the president of the company to figure that out? I mean, what's it about people in the boardroom, and then you got creatives who obviously know that nobody's put a body on Pixar yet. They're just going to the lane at will, dunking on people. And it takes Bob Iger going to Shanghai Disney to realize, like, oh, these characters are taking over. Like, how did that take the president going to see that? And is that a problem with Disney? It's like they got a lot of, you know how you have the mastermind in criminal movies? And I feel like in Disney, Iger's that guy. Then you got like a lot of low-level bums who are just yes men. Is that the case at Disney?
Because I know Eisner was a lot hate. He did some good things, but yeah, you say Eisner's name in Disney circles, and yeah, they get real upset, real like, oh, Eisner,
No, Bob Iger is the man responsible for Disney becoming the modern day Judge today.
Turns things around.
I mean, he bought Pixar, then turned around and bought Star Wars. He bought Marvel. He brought all these things under the Disney brand and really grew it.
And also, Iger was really good friends with Steve Jobs. And so they already were friends. Wives knew each other or something. I don't know. But they were friends. And so I think he really, made that deal happen. Like, all right, hey, what's it going to take?
What's it going to take?
So here's the check, and you just write down what you think's appropriate, So then, Disney takes over Pixar 2006. So that was when Cars came out.
Same year, but obviously already in development as per Pixar. And the next 3-4 Pixar movies are still bangers. You got Ratatouille in 2007, you got WALL-E in 2008, you got Up in 2009, but Toy Story in 2010. But as I said at the top of the show, Pixar's development process is years long. So those movies, even though they came out post-Disney takeover, were very much in development pre-Disney takeover. And I really think Toy Story 3 maybe, but certainly Cars 2 is where you really see the effect of the Disney takeover on Pixar.
Oh, yeah. And that was the first of Pixar's run that didn't get nominated for a best animated feature. They won almost every time. This one didn't even get nominated.
So yeah, that is something to really stress, that Cars 2 was the first Pixar movie not to be nominated for best animated feature.
Wow. So Disney dropped the ball.
and also was the first one to receive a Rotten Tomato score at 39%, whereas the rest are certified in the 90s.
So who are we putting the blame on? Like, what changed between Disney getting Pixar to, the old Pixar guard who was, nobody was stopping them. They were going down the lane at will, scoring at will. What changed between, Disney's acquisition of Pixar to Cars 2? And that middle, what happened there?
My theory, and I mean, you've done more research on this, Dave, so correct me if I'm wrong, but something interesting that happened shortly after Disney buys Pixar, they take Pixar's head creative guy, Lasseter, who I said is the creative brain and heart of Pixar, and they said, tell you what, why don't you oversee both Pixar and Disney Animation Studios? Both at the same time. So I think they just stretched him way too thin, because '06 is the start of Disney Animation making a big comeback at the same time that Pixar starts to decline. So obviously he's in charge of both, but they probably were pressing him like, hey man, we really need you to bring back Disney Animation, starting with Princess and the Frog, which was kind of a minor hit, but was the first time they brought back traditional cell animation to the features. Did well, and then of course was followed up by Tangled, and of course Frozen.
Oh, that's a modest hit, right?
Frozen was yeah, no, Frozen enormous. Tangled was
Frozen hit like the adult market, I remember like
it was a juggernaut.
I remember going to my brother's house and that came out. He's like, yo, man, you got to watch this. It's actually pretty good. I was like, all right, I'll check it out. And I was like, wow, blown away by how good it was. Lots of good songs. Of course, I think it all comes down to, a great voice actress and singer, Idina Menzel. Hope I didn't butcher it like John Travolta. Yeah. But that was probably you could probably make the argument that Frozen is the biggest IP for Disney right now. Would I be off base saying that as far as merchandise? At least in that, 2016, 15, 17.
Oh, most definitely.
Pre-COVID, that was probably their best.
The single biggest IP as far as merchandise goes? Yeah, probably.
It's rivaling Star Wars and Marvel at the time, right? Because I've seen every kid.
Oh, and I had two little girls that were, 6 and 8 when Frozen came out. So yeah, everything in my house was Frozen. Every backpack was Frozen, every t-shirt.
Yeah, I had a lot of nieces and I bought a lot of Frozen stuff.
Oh, absolutely. So I really feel like you ask what happened. I think that's my take on it, because you notice right when he gets installed in Disney Animation and Pixar, co-leading them, Disney Animation really starts its comeback at the same time Pixar starts its decline. Now, I'm not going to lay everything at the feet of John Lasseter in either direction, but obviously, very creative man, knows his storytelling very well, and I just feel like he was spread too thin, heading up both of those divisions at the same time, and I think Pixar really suffered as a result. Did you see anything else in the research?
One thing that Disney did with the success is, all right, so you got the sequels, right? The banana stand, there's money in the banana stand, there's money in the sequels, and then there's the well, which is princesses. So I think Disney, they went a long time without doing anything princess related.
A long time.
Until Princess and the Frog, which was then their return of success, and oh, hey, there's now excitement again for Disney animation. And yeah, because it's Princess, and then like you said, Tangled, and then Frozen. So then they went back to the well, which is princesses, which in the
Moana.
Yeah, Moana, so in the 50s and 60s, Sleeping Beauty, all, Cinderella, it was all about princesses. They went away from the princess. They came back with the princesses and, that run of Little Mermaid, Ariel and all them, right? And then, dipped back and then went back to that well of the princesses.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I think that was also, probably a part of that success was going back to that, whether maybe that was Lasseter's idea. Hey, let's go back to the well. I'm not sure.
Golden Age Disney.
Let's just go back to the princesses. But yeah, so I think, it is funny because then Disney's going up and Pixar is now, we get into, like Cars.
The back half. So let's actually go for it. So 2006 is the year of the acquisition. That's the year that Cars 1 comes out. And I swear we'll get to Cars 2 eventually.
This is a Cars 2 podcast. This is a Cars 2 podcast.
We'll get to Cars 2 eventually. But, Cars comes out '06, Ratatouille '07. Like I said, that was already very well in the pipeline. very good movie. Wall-E, I love.
It's an incredible movie.
Wall-E is a classic.
2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah.
What year was Wall-E again?
08. So still very much in development, pre-Disney takeover. Up is okay. The first
one,
is brilliant. Yeah. Tears. It rides off those first 5 minutes coattails.
That's weird how that movie was so great in the first 5 minutes and just isn't the same.
Well, it just boils down an entire marriage to like 5 minutes, dude.
Hey, I mean, that's probably the best 5 minutes of, a time period in maybe the history of cinema. You could probably say it's a
Very powerful.
great montage. That was a master of montage right there.
Very powerful. And then Toy Story 3. So talking sequels that aren't equal, Toy Story 3, very equal. And I really wish they would have ended there. Toy Story 4 is okay, but Toy Story 3, chef's kiss, perfect send-off. We complete the circle. Andy now, a mature young man, gives his toys to the next generation. A decision he will regret.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I did
20
that.
years. Because I did that too. And I can tell you as a 45-year-old man, I've spent so much money on eBay rebuying my G.I. Joes and my He-Mans and all my toys that I gave up. Don't do it, kids. Don't let those toys go. You put them in the attic, and trust me, in 20 years, you'll bring them back down and you'll put them on the shelf.
And if you're watching this, you obviously don't have good parental guidance, so you're going to have to do all this on your own. All right? Sorry for any swear words we'll say, any adult lewd content.
So Toy Story 3 was 2010, and that was the last of the classic. Like, I would say that is the pin in the classic Pixar run, uninterrupted. Everyone is an A or a B plus at the worst. Yeah. And then the very next year, 2011, we get Cars 2. The subject of today's show, but we're going to keep going past this for a moment just so that we can see how far they fall. Because the very next one is Brave. Boring.
Yeah.
Is that the one that's like Hawkeye, Arrow, Hunger Games?
Yeah, she turns into her hair, she turns into a bear. And then it becomes about her repairing her relationship with her mother. Very weird. Didn't care for it. I know there's some people who like Merida, whatever. Not great, certainly compared to the previous Pixar movies. And then the very next one, you want to talk a sequel that's not equal, Monsters University.
Never seen the first one, so I wouldn't know.
So again, like I said, I have two little daughters. They weren't born when Monsters, Inc. came out, but trust me, we found these movies when they were little. Monsters, Inc., Finding Nemo, that was like their two biggest favorites of all time. So I saw those movies many, 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 many times as a dad. And I can tell you, even after watching it 100 times, Monsters, Inc. and Finding Nemo are incredible films. They hold up after many multiple viewings, even as an adult. Monsters University comes out in 2013. It is terrible. It's just not funny. It's not creative. It's like, ugh.
Cash grab.
Yeah.
Disney? Yeah. Cash grab.
Feels like
they love doing it.
Disney cash grab. And then, of course, they did Finding Dory, the follow-up to Nemo in 2016. Again, terrible. Now, in between those two movies, you do have a movie that is as good as classic Golden Age Pixar, which is Inside Out. Did you ever see that?
It was about the multiple personalities, right? Yeah. I know that was big. I mean, I've heard of it, and yes, I know it's huge.
Yes. Either son Dave here has a shirt that
that's a bird from it. Okay, nice.
Yes. So Inside Out.
They made that in a grown man size. That's interesting.
Inside Out 2015 is as good as any of the Golden Age Pixar,
very good.
Of course. Yeah. However, that kind of stands out alone in that because a little later they get their footing back a little bit. They start making some B minuses, but they never return to their glory. Because then they've got Good Dinosaur, which never should have been released.
Completely forgotten film.
It's really bad, and it's a movie that languished in years and years and years in that development funnel. They just never could get their arms around the story. And it got to the point where they had sunk so much money in developing it that I think Disney is just like, you're putting this thing out. We got to recoup some of these costs. And it's very forgettable. It's very terrible. And we get Cars 3, better than Cars 2, but still not great. Coco, good, but kind of forgettable. Incredibles 2, I did not enjoy that sequel at all. Toy Story 4 is okay. And then we get into kind of like the COVID era Pixar, which I feel kind of bad for because they're all straight Disney Plus, but they kind of have to be in the post-COVID era, which is, your Onward, your Soul, your Luca, your Turning Red, and then their return to theaters with Lightyear, which I didn't see, but
I've heard nothing but
I've heard nothing but bad things about.
But can we have a side caveat here? Well, Disney's, this is Disney, incredible, Frozen, right? And I just want to say this out there to the people. There's no better good-looking cartoon character than Miss Incredible. She's beautiful as an animated, 3D animated. They did great with the 3D animation on Miss Incredible. She looks fantastic. She's beautiful.
You don't think Elsa's?
Elsa's hot, but I'm more of a, if you made me choose between Elsa and Miss Incredible, I'm taking Miss
You
Incredible.
like the Pixar mom hips?
I love the mom hips.
They love the little.
Yeah. Those hips don't lie, they only tell the truth. And you can't handle the truth.
Maybe someday, maybe someday. So anyway, I think that's a lot of table setting about Disney, Pixar to, really kind of set the stage for Cars 2. Is there anything else we really want to say about the companies, generally speaking, before we go into this movie specifically?
No, I think we can, go ahead and get into Cars 2.
So anyway, Cars 2, directed by Lasseter, the fifth and final of the movies he directed for Pixar. It feels very boomer to me. To me, Cars and Cars 2 just feel incredibly boomer because it's about cars, first of all. And I think car culture kind of went down with the boomers because I was thinking about it. The boomers, if you think about cars, right? So that Cars, the invention, not Cars, the movie, but Cars come out in 2010 or so, 2020, 2030, up until World War II. They're very utilitarian, right? The Model T, you just buy it for pure transportation. It's not really tied to who you are, your identity, or anything like that. Then all of a sudden you come back from World War II, and then cars really explode into the cultural zeitgeist where car culture really grips the youth. That's where you start getting, hot rod culture and a lot of youth movies.
Street racing,
right? And
American Graffiti. Let's dive into that.
And so you mod your car, it becomes an extension of your personality. And it's funny because those were the teens of the 60s, the adults of the 80s. Then you look at shows and movies in the 70s and 80s where you could have a car as your co-star. Literally in the case of Knight Rider, the car is the co-star. But I really...
Herbie?
Herbie.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of TV shows were greenlit because, it's got a cool car in it, like Dukes of Hazzard. Well, there's these two guys, but they drive around in a cool car. Greenlit, Magnum PI, he's a PI, but he's got a Ferrari. Greenlit. Even lower shows like Riptide or...
Starsky and Hutch had an awesome car. They call it Fat X.
These...
Smoking and Bandit, the best car. The best car is that Pontiac Trans Am with the 6.6 liter engine. That's the baddest of all the cars. That's the one I would take, is the Pontiac Trans Am Firebird with the Phoenix on top.
With the Phoenix on the top.
Yeah. Beautiful car.
So, this was very much like the car era where the car and the culture were very much intertwined. And in my mind, I think that's peak boomer mentality because really starting with Gen X, and what's crazy is now my daughters are Zoomers, and the Zoomers of today, they're just not interested in cars. In fact, I had to beg my daughter to get her learner's permit, whereas in our generation, dude,
we couldn't wait. You're watching the clock. You're like, oh man, 10 more days, I get my permit. Can't wait. I can drive with anybody who's a licensed driver who's over 18.
Yes. So I think, and I started asking around other parents of teens. I'm like, did your kid get their permit? And they're like, finally, when he turned 18.
That's insane to me.
I say this only to mean that, I'm Gen Xer, in Gen Xer, Gen X millennial. In our generation, the car kind of went back to being utilitarian. Of course, we liked our cars, we wanted our cars, but I feel like with our generation, it's not as much of the status symbol, the modded out, obviously there's outliers and there are people who are still really into their cars. I'm saying generally as a cultural identity, I feel like we stepped back from the car, and then definitely the Zoomers have stepped back even farther. So if you make a movie about talking cars, it already feels very boomer. And that was Cars 1, which is, I get it. And little kids, little boys especially, you always see them running around with the Cars t-shirts and the Cars backpacks. talking cars is definitely something that appeals to boomers and little boys. And then you come out with Cars 2, which is a movie about cars and 1960s era James Bond movies. So it just feels like the most boomer thing ever.
Yeah. And also just go back to the first Cars is Radiator Springs, where it's like small town America.
Oh, right. And the whole plot of Route 66 and appreciating Route 6. Like, Gen X, we don't give an F about Route 66. Who cares? It went away because it's not on the freeway. It's not convenient to me. I don't care. Whereas, like, yeah, the boomers were lamenting this loss of,
And just on a random tangent, I recently went to California Adventures and saw Cars Land for the first time. And it is incredible. Like, you feel like you are in Radiator Springs. And there was even this little kid, and he said to his mom, "Oh, is this where they filmed the movies?" Like, I mean, it really is like, oh man, you stepped into the movie. And I mean, maybe this is a hot take. I thought that Cars Land was better than Avenger Campus. Like, Avenger Campus was okay, and you're like, oh, that's kind of cool, but I didn't step into the movie.
right.
Whereas Cars Land, you step into Radiator Springs. I am in the movie.
I felt that when I went to the Harry Potter and Universal Studios for the first time, where I'm like, oh, I am in the movie. So yeah, I definitely felt that when I went to Cars Land. Not so much with the Star Wars land.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Should have been Mos Eisley, would have been Tatooine, where you're in Mos Eisley, you're in these spots.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about. Are these attractions at Disney World?
Yeah.
All right.
We're Disney geeks. As we can see on the show, Tim here is not the Disney geek of the three of us.
Give me an A24 theme park, please. Yeah. That's what I want. I want Spring Breakers Land. That's what I want.
All right, I think we finally do need to get to Cars 2, the movie at hand for today. What are the stats for this one?
Oh boy, hold on. I mean, it still made it to, so like I said, it was still directed by Lasseter. Owen Wilson's back, Larry the Cable Guy's back. You've got Michael Caine, never met a paycheck he doesn't like.
He's in that?
Yeah,
See the spy car.
Yeah, he's
Hey,
a
guys,
spy
they
car.
thought I recognized.
Bonnie Hunt's like, I think barely in this one.
Barely in it.
Like
Cheech Marin's barely.
John Turturro is the Italian F1 racer. So the budget on this one's $200 million. Domestic box office was $191 million. But worldwide, $559 million. So it still made money.
More than Cars 1 at the box office, right? At the global.
It did. Globally, box office was $460 for Cars. So I mean, it made more, but Pixar is such a big name. People are just gonna go
Automatically, for
So
sure.
it wasn't a loss.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't a financial loss. Like I said, it was really just kind of like a creative step down. And proof in the pudding, it was the only one that didn't get nominated for an Oscar. So even the Academy's like, not this one.
Yeah, because it's weird. Just you're kind of saying like, so with Cars 1, it's cocky race car driver or car that learns about friendship and humility with the small town, sidetracked and humble.
Right.
Friendship and all that unity. And then, you get to Cars 2 and now it's international spy thriller. It's a very odd change trajectory.
It is, and I to me it feels like a hat on a hat. Like I said about the Highlander movie, it's just you're already in the world of talking vehicles, and this one expands the universe, not just talking cars, but we see talking planes, we see talking boats. So lots of anthropomorphized vehicles. And that's already like a lot to put on my plate, but let's just keep them in their lane, so to speak, let's keep them in the racing world. They're getting their tires changed, they're getting their oil changed, they're doing car stuff, because now all of a sudden there's an international spy ring involved in them. There's,
SW30 cocktail drinks, synthetic motor oil cocktail drinks. And I think, here's what I want to say about this movie. I think that Disney's saying, there's some money to be had in cars. Because Mater's the lead character. Steve McQueen kind of takes a step to the side, which isn't there more than I thought he was going to be. But I feel like they were going to try to branch off and make the James Bond car like a series. I felt like they were setting up a lot of different things for a lot of different car spinoffs on this. It's the vibe I got, and I think that's why it might have got lost. And it's not as good as Cars 2. Cars 1,
So yeah, let's talk about kind of the general overview of the plot of Cars 2, because it starts off with like a "Help me Obi-Wan" message, like it throws you into the international intrigue right off the bat.
Yeah, it's this whole action sequence with Finn McMissile, and then they're on oil rigs. There's shootouts. There's it looked like an arms deal going on with the lemons.
Yes.
What was it? Was it a Gremlin? What are those cars?
Gremlins and Yugos, right?
Yugos, Pacers, which goes back to boomer humor, right? So like, you got to figure that Cars movies should be made for little boys, right? Like I said, little boys, those are always the people you see running around with Cars shirts, Cars backpacks. You never see adults wearing Cars shirts. It's always little dudes, okay? So right off the bat, what's the joke of the movie is, oh, the bad guys are lemons. They're AMC Gremlins and Pacers and Yugos. Those are the movies that these boomer animators drove in their college days in the 70s. Like Gen X, we have no connection to, affinity to any of those car brands. Those were all gone by the time we started.
They were taking a dive down. And like, I remember the big cars when we were in high school, it was Broncos, Jeeps. Those are like the cars everybody wanted. They wanted the big 4-wheel drive.
Well, sure, or if you're poor, you got your Chevy Cavaliers.
Oh yeah. Lucky you get the Z24 Chevy Cavalier.
So yeah, off the bat, they're making jokes that there's no way on earth anyone other than a boomer is going to appreciate.
Yeah, well, because they don't know what a lemon is.
They don't even know what a lemon is,
car, that whole thing, and then then it gets into alternative fuel source. One of the interesting implications of this film, the axle rod or whatever, the British guy that makes the all in all, I guess, is the alternative fuel source, mentions dinosaurs. And that the fossil fuel, coming from the dinosaurs. And I'm like, so in this world where those dinosaurs, because everything is, like a vehicle, were they, because, they had the tractors that were, like the cows.
Yes.
So was there a Truckosaurus Rex running around, or are we living in a world? Because looking at the buildings, they're still look like as if humans had made, and then they just kind of attached like little things to make it more vehicle friendly. Is this a world where there was dinosaurs and humans and they've all left and cars rose and now they took over the world? Is that implied by that?
So you're saying this is post-humanity Earth?
Maybe.
I always thought it was just like a child's imagination while he's playing with his cars.
No, I like Dave's.
This might be a Planet of the Apes situation where the cars at some point became sentient, which Tesla, I'm sure, is trying to do. This might be where we're heading, Ryan.
And like maybe Titan by Neon Films is a prequel to Cars. You guys seen Titan?
But I heard it's
It's where a female has sex with a car, and then she gives birth to a car hybrid human being. She starts drinking motor oil and all this stuff. It's absolutely insane. It's a great movie. It's one of those movies that has like the first 15 minutes is absolutely mind-blowing. You're like, oh, this is going to be a great ride. Then it just goes down some kind of, dark path, but the payoff's great.
Another implication of this movie that's terrifying, this G-rated kids movie, is that death most certainly exists in this movie.
Oh yeah, 100%. I noticed those cars flying off that oil rig left and right. Yes. At first I thought that kind of sounds disturbing. Yeah.
They'd like float up and shake their fist and, oh, you got me, you dug me. No, they're dead. They are dead. Parts of their bodies, their corpses float to the top of the water, and there is death in this film. And I was shocked. I even made note of it. I'm like, he's murdering those cars. Which of course, if there are
blew them up, incinerated them.
Yeah, if there's fossil fuels, that also implies that, there were dinosaur creatures and they died. So there is most definitely death in the Cars universe.
Yeah, because they even mentions like, the axle rod or whatever. It's like, we don't want to go the way of the dinosaur. And then Mater's like, what happened to the dinosaur? So
there's death in this one.
Oh yeah. It's a torture scene with the American spy.
Yeah, so the movie starts off with the American spy sending a distress message to the British spy saying, hey, you need to come to this oil rig. You need to see what's going on. There's some shady stuff afoot. He's got like some type of microchip or videotape or something that he captured from the oil rig that he later passes off to Mater. But yeah, he gets captured by the bad guys, and they straight up torture him like a scene out of 24. You know, you will talk, give us the microfish. He'd already passed it off to Mater by that time. He's like, I'll never talk. So they straight up murder him. Yeah. And once again, I'm like, isn't this a kid's movie? Like, shouldn't they just be like racing and having like,
No, it's
you know,
Cars.
a story of friendship or something?
I'm starting to like the further you go, the more I'm like, you know, I kind of like Cars 2 better than Cars 1. Yeah, now I'm rethinking it in a different perspective.
Yeah. The only scene that I really actually enjoyed, I thought was funny, was in Japan, you know, because I think there's a good movie in here of a fish out of water tale where, yeah, Mater's in the Japanese, he goes into the bathroom and like, well, how does this work, you know, and then all the little scrub, all these things.
I feel like that scene's problematic too in a lot of ways. The geisha girls as Cars, you know, this seems very stereotypical. You couldn't do, I don't think you can do that in live action,
You know, some of those jokes you wouldn't be able to get away with. Maybe it'd be a little too cultural appreciation if they're cars, I don't know. But yeah, like that scene was funny. Like that was, you know, I thought
That was definitely the funniest scene.
thought there was some funny fish out of water. I don't know why that wasn't just the movie, but whatever.
The movie really should have been, yes, they go to Europe and have a series of fish out of water moments around like a European race, like a European Grand Prix. Because one thing John Lasseter said is that while he was on the Cars 1 media tour, you know, and they were going all over the world, to England, to Italy and what have you, he would think to himself, oh, how would Mater react to this situation? How would Mater react to seeing that? And he later said that was kind of like the germ of the idea for Cars 2. Let's take Mater out of Radiator Springs. Let's put him in all of these international scenarios and hilarity will ensue. And so really, I don't see why he could have just carried that kernel, put it in some international races and made a very simple race movie. I don't know why he had to then take it and do the hat on top of the hat of, great, now let's also do this international spy ring intrigue to get Mater to these other countries. You know, it's very sweaty. It just feels like a lot of work to get the fish out of the water.
Yeah, initially I thought it was a situation, you know, we spoke before about sequels where they'll just take some random script, dust it off, add names. Initially I thought maybe that was something like that. Like, did they have some weird mistaken identity spy thriller movie script? And then we're like, well, what if it was just Cars? You know, like I thought maybe it was something like that. I did find a quote that said that, yeah, so John Lasseter, there was a deleted scene from Cars where Lightning McQueen and Sally go on a date to the drive-in, and the movie playing was a spy thriller, you know, the Finn McNissel character, and they were watching a, you know, James Bond style action movie. And that scene got cut, and I guess he really liked that, and so yeah, it took oh well, maybe there's something here with the touring around the world, and combined them.
Yeah.
Combine those two ideas. Why? I don't know. I guess he just really loved that idea.
Right. And I think that the James Bond car joke would have been funny as a throwaway scene. Like, I think in that context, it would have been funny. It's just, it's too much to hang the whole movie on, because then it just gets very sweaty.
It's very sweaty.
We're not going to break it down scene by scene just because it's just a lot. That would be a lot of legwork for this one podcast.
There's a lot going on in this movie. A lot.
But let's kind of just talk about the 30,000-foot view of the plot. Like, what is the plot of Cars 2? I can tackle it if you're...
Yeah, no.
So the plot of Cars 2 at the 30,000-foot view is there is this very rich, kind of like a Richard Branson analog. And what's his name again? The all-in-all creator guy?
Oh, the something Axelrod.
Axelrod, thank you. Okay, so he's rich billionaire Axelrod, and he comes out with an alternative fuel, and he says, this alternative fuel, it's a biofuel, it's not a fossil fuel, it's the future, and I want to promote this, so I'm going to hold a series of races, these 3 races I'm going to hold, one in Japan, one in Europe, and one in America, and I'm going to have all the best race cars from all over the world come and race in my race, but they have to use my alternative fuel. That's the catch, the rub, to show how great my alternative fuel is. Okay, fine. But at the same time, he is actually an oil magnate, which is why there's that whole scene on the oil rigs, because they have just found the largest oil deposit ever, and he's an owner of that. So really, it turns out that he created this alternative fuel, which is a viable fuel. The race cars use it, so why not have both? But he creates this biofuel so that he can sabotage it, because he also creates a laser beam in the shape of a television camera. I'm getting dizzy just saying this plot. So that during the live race, he could have his henchmen pose as cameramen, shoot the laser at the race cars while they're racing using his alternative fuel, so they will blow up and die. And he can then say, oh my God, guys, I guess alternative fuel is bad. It's a good thing I also just so happened to find the largest, petroleum deposit on Earth. I guess we better stick with the fossil fuels. And that's the plan. That's the plot that's going on in Cars 2. So you've got Lightning McQueen. Now you've got me calling him Steve McQueen. You've got Lightning McQueen, who has been...
so his name's Lightning McQueen and not Speed McQueen?
No, Lightning.
How did I go with Speed McQueen?
I thought you were saying Steve McQueen, and I was like, what? I'm not sure it was based off of, so yeah.
Yeah, because I thought it was Speed McQueen after Steve McQueen, so it has nothing to do with Steve McQueen.
Yeah, it does, but it's Lightning McQueen.
All right. How did I go with Speed McQueen?
That's the better pun, I agree. So anyway, Lightning McQueen gets called out by the John Turturro Italian car, like, ha ha ha, you come to this race and I'll show you up. So that's really the B plot. Lightning McQueen is very, very much a minor character in this. And it's him racing these 3 races against the Italian sports car. That's what gets them to Japan, because that's where the first leg of the race is. And that's where the American spy passes the microfiche to Mater, which then involves him in the whole spy plot, because then the British spies think that he's their agent and they attach him, and then that causes the henchmen to attack him and so on. So it's kind of like a mistaken identity thing, and that's what gets that whole thing going. But basically the British spies are trying to uncover this, plot to foil the races, to kill them using the alternative fuel. And that's the plot, is that he creates this alternative fuel and then sabotages it with a laser beam while Lightning McQueen is going race to race. And then, in a moment where they try to turn the laser beam on Lightning McQueen, he doesn't blow up. And you're like, oh, why didn't he blow up? And then it turns out that he got a different formula of biofuel from his hippie. The VW bus character is a hippie. And so he's like, I went all organic, man, and I made my own blend. And so because he didn't use the biofuel that the all-in-all guy provided, he didn't blow up when the laser hit him, when they tried to blow him up. And yeah, that's the plot. And then in the end, they expose him because Mater has a ticking time bomb put into him, and he stands next to the all-in-all guy, and the timer's counting down, and he's like, well, I guess we're all gonna blow up. And then the all-in-all guy says the password to deactivate the bomb, and that's how we all know, oh, he's actually the guy behind sabotaging the race the whole time. That's the big twist that ends it. So I'm like sitting here watching this going, man, this is a really, really sweaty plot for a kid's movie. Imagine like the kids buy the little cars to reenact this at home. They're like, I am an oil magnate. I'm going to sabotage this race so you guys don't adopt biofuels. I'll show you. I'll get this microfiche to the news and expose you. I'm just like, wow, this is quite a big step away from cocky race car needs to learn humility and teamwork in order to win his next race.
Or was it we're trying to play more to the adult side? Because at this point, adults and kids are going to these films. Is it that case where they're trying to play more to adults to keep them engaged more?
Absolutely. I think this movie was absolutely made by the boomers for the boomers, and they kind of forgot that you're supposed to make a kids movie that appeals to adults. I think they tried to make an adult movie that appealed to kids. I think they got the formula wrong because they flipped it, and I think that's why ultimately this movie's a failure. It's not very funny. The plot, like I said, is very twisted to try to be engaging for a child. I think it's just a major, major misstep. Don't make a kids movie, don't make an adult movie and try to twist it into a kids movie. Make a kids movie and then layer in on top of it the things the adults can appreciate. All right, Dave, what do you have as an alternate idea for what could have been a Cars sequel?
So my idea is, all right, so, because Lightning McQueen won all these races, right? And he's, married and now has a child in his,
Which
settled
implies Cars sex.
which, I mean, they have to, right? I mean, the cars have to get created. I'm assuming there's...
They're all created by Car God.
Yeah,
They
I'm
are
assuming they're going somewhere.
not procreated.
Yeah, so anyway, so they marry, they have kids. He's set aside his racing ways, but his kid really wants to be his racer, and maybe his dad's like, oh, that's too dangerous, and he gets caught up in illegal street racing.
Nice.
He's like, gets involved, maybe gets in a little over his head, and now he has a debt to pay, and he has to do this big race, and so then, Lightning steps in for his son, and it's like, I'll do the race, and then has this big illegal street race, wins, and then all's well.
Dangerous message for children, but I do appreciate where you're going with that. Certainly would have been a better and more fitting, by the way, movie than an international spy intrigue. I mean, at least you're keeping it in the car world. How about you, Tim? Any thoughts on where you would have taken it?
I love the thought of the Ford versus Ferrari storyline where you got like maybe Lightning McQueen, he just, like Carroll Shelby. He had a heart condition. Maybe something happened to Speed McQueen where he couldn't race anymore. Or, it's borderline, either he dies or he lives. And then he meets like another car. And by the way, the race car driver in Ford vs. Ferrari that Christian Bale plays, Ken Miles. Great driver name, by the way. Ken Miles is a cool name. He's really a real guy who actually died testing a car. If you ever seen the end of Ford vs. Ferrari. But kind of just take that storyline. It's just two American car companies going up against the Italians who dominated for a lot of years, Porsche, Ferrari, and Maserati. Those, in the 60s and 50s, those were the dominant race cars. And then, Ford takes the Shelby Mustangs over there, and they get the job done. Not the Shelby Mustang, but the GT 350, I believe is what it's called.
I don't know.
Yeah, so I think they should have took the same storyline from Ford versus Ferrari. That would have been a great Cars 2.
Yeah, and I already gave my idea, which is basically take the B plot of Cars 2 and make it the A plot. Get rid of all the alternative fuel weirdness or whatever. Just, Lightning McQueen gets invited over to the Grand Prix in Europe, brings along Mater and friends, and then it becomes a fish out of water, comedy in Europe. Yeah. Very simple, very basic. Keep it in the world of cars. Expand the universe. It was fun to see boats and planes also in on the gag. So, keep that, but just focus it on the cars. At the end of the day, you want little boys to come out of the movie theater and want to run out and buy your toys and buy your t-shirts and buy your backpacks. And I just don't feel like this movie inspired any of that. So before we put a pin in it, do we want to talk about what happened to John Lasseter after Cars 2?
All me. Let's get
He
into it.
lived happily ever after. No, so he was, like I said, he was the head of both Disney Animation and Pixar Animation starting from 2007 up until 2018. So up through the release of Incredibles 2. But then he did retire, but you could certainly say was sort of pushed into retirement as part of the Me Too movement. A lot of stories came out about very problematic behavior in the workforce. Nothing that would rise to the level of illegal, but just very handsy, grabby, inappropriate behavior that is just not suitable for a professional environment. And he finally got called out on it as part of that movement. So he sort of got pushed out. But then Skydance Pictures, which is, I think they produce like all the Tom Cruise.
Yeah, that's
movies.
his company.
His production
Yeah.
company, right? So they decided they wanted to get into animation at the same time that he was getting pushed out of Disney Pixar. And so they scooped up Lasseter. And it was actually very controversial for them because they had a movie in production at the time that has since come out. It came out in the COVID era, so it went straight to Apple Plus, called Luck. And for example, Emma Thompson was supposed to be the lead female character in that, and she said, "I won't work under Lasseter." She exited the project, got replaced by Jane Fonda. Several animators left the project when Lasseter came on board, but he did create Luck. It is out. did not do well at all, but in all fairness, also was released during COVID, straight to Apple Plus, so it didn't really have a chance. But Lasseter, you know, is still with Skydance and has a lot of big projects on the horizon, including a new Brad Bird animated feature.
didn't know that.
His next animated feature will be Skydance. There's one called Spellbound, which is coming out, which is going to have all new original music by Alan Menken, the composer of Little Mermaid and many other golden age Disney classic animations. So, you know, Lasseter is still very much around, trying to, you know, redeem himself, has some big projects on the horizon. So there might be a third chapter to the Lasseter story, you know, post-Disney Pixar. So we'll see.
Yeah.
So with that, yeah, we'll wrap up this episode, and we will see you next week when we cover yet another sequel that is not equal.